So I'm going to try to do a video on my latest experience with entering a application to make sure that I could qualify for NEM 2.0 before the April 15th date. So I would assume you want to submit on April 14th. So I'm going to just go over how you'd go about filling out this form, assuming that you're not going to sign a contract with a solar provider and he's going to do this for you. You're going to instead do a DIY project, and you're going to be the DIY installer, a homeowner installer. So what we're going to need to do, one of the hardest parts of this is to do a line drawing, and we're gonna explain how to do that. And then we're also going to get into estimating your system size just real roughly. And then I think we will just go over the boxes that we're going to check on this form, and also familiarize you with something that's called the California Guide, the California Solar Permitting Guide, and you're going to be using that to you're going to be this is page 43 of the guide. However, the guide will explain how to produce one of these single line drawings, and we're going to go over that process. So let's get started here. We're going to first log on to the Edison site, and you can just do a Google on NEM 2.0, and the system is called Power Clerk. But so you're going to kind of get this thing, and then you're going to click that, and then basically what you're going to want to do is select the Nem-ST program, and then you're going to let's just kind of go over. Let's see, this one's gonna be, we're gonna do an existing meter, and then we're going to do this yes for surplus generation for less than or greater than 1 megawatts, and that's going to allow you to get credits back. And then we're going to say no to storage devices, and then we're going to say yes to electronic vehicles. I'm assuming, let's just say, assume that we're planning on installing it. We want to do that because we don't want to be butting heads with them when we ask for more power than what our historical is. And then we are not going to need a net generation output meter in most cases. And then we're going to say that we're residential, and we're going to say it's bundled service. So this has to do with whether you're a SCE customer. You want to ideally have SCE be the provider of your electricity and then the biller of your electricity. So you're going to need the bill for these things. You're going to need your meter number, which is also found on the bill. So pretty much I just need a bill. And then this electronic rate schedule, that's also on the bill. It's likely that your service is going to be 240 volts, and you can pretty much put everything here, but make sure you match the name of the on the bill exactly. I'm told that that's a problem. And then what we're going to also do is say that we are a self-installer and that no salesperson has been talking with us about it. And then we're going to put the name of the person on the bill as the one that fills out this document. Um, so let's see. Um, the technology type is going to be solar PV. And then this section of the document, I'm going to have to go into a little bit of detail with you on that. But what we're going to be doing is, generally speaking, we're going to be using a microinverter. So I think it's best if for the purposes of if you don't really know what you want to do now, I think it's best to just choose in-phase energy. And I think it's best to, let's just say, you're going to do an IQ8A. You can do an IQ8A, this one here. And then we got to figure out what quantities that we want to put in here for the inverters. But let's just say for now, we're going to put in 10. And then we're gonna put in 10 microinverters, and then with that we're gonna let's just say we're gonna have 10 panels. And then you have to go down to your panels. I have Hanwha, so Hanwha Q cells, and then let's just say we're gonna go down here. I'm kind of a believer in putting big panels in, but just because it simplifies the work. But let's just say, you're doing this, going through all the motions here, but maybe you decide after you submit the form that you want to have an installer do it. Well, my interpretation is you'll still be grandfathered. So this is kind of roof tilt, so I would just, you can just put like 23. Azimuth is the compass heading. If you take your phone and let's just say your roof faces south, so you want to go 180 degrees here, and then it's going to be fixed, and then depending on what you want to do, you may have to add another inverter group. Uh, you might have to add another array or another inverter group if you're going to have different faces of your building. But that's kind of advanced. The mounting method is going to be rooftop. And, we always say not applicable to this, and then we are going to be getting system output monitoring from this in-phase energy system, and we're going to be getting it. The customer's going to be getting the output, and we're gonna do load side connection. It's kind of confusing. It would take a lot to get through this one, and we are not going to produce more than 10 kilowatts of energy, and we don't have a second generator type. Now, this is if you had a previous installation, you would put yes here, and then you would have to enter the information from your previous system in here. But for our purposes, I'm just going to assume that you all don't have solar and you want to get grandfathered in and lock in the 2.0. And I've heard it locks in for about 3 years if you get this form filled out correctly, which I'm not a professional, but we'll see what happens there. And then, do you have existing generators? We're saying no here because if we had an existing system, we would say yes. And then, are we using storage? No. Next. And then, basically, it's gonna add up your system totals. Now, I'm gonna show you. Well, let's just go through. Let's just go back here because I want to show you something here that we probably forgot to do. So you see, I had 10 panels, 10 inverters, and 10 panels. So you have to hit this calculate button. And let's see. Please enter a valid zip code. I don't know where that is. Anyway, I'm assuming a zip code was in there somewhere. I must have skipped over it. But anyway, this calculate button is what you got to hit. And then what will happen is when you do that, it's going to fill in this with the correct kilowatt hours. But anyway, it doesn't work. You click this yes, that we have had the warranty, and that anyway, I don't know. You click both. And then this is where we say it's going to serve EV charging because we all are expecting we fill out this form to have EV in the future sometime. And then we're not going to need a separate meter for that. And let's just say we're just going to charge one. We're just going to have one EV. And then it's not a solar VGI. And this rebate we're not going to be doing. And then it's not going to be, it's going to be customer owned, and the purchase price is going to be, $7,500. Okay. And was the system financed? Let's say no, we're going to pay cash. All right. Anyway, this is where you download the single line diagrams and everything. So let's see. Let's go into the next part of the program where we're going to estimate our size of our system. Make sure I got everything here. All right. Let's see. Get rid of this. And let's see if I can get this one. Okay. So to estimate the size of our system, we're going to need to find this section of our bill that says that we're 36.54 kilowatts per day times 365 days. That's like 13.3 megawatts basically. So that's the part. This is what our usage is, which is pretty handy to know. So then I think the best thing to do is let's see. We're gonna look at this PV watts. Basically, this system here, if you Google PV watts calculator, it is going to you type in where your zip code is, the address of the place, and then you give it some inputs, like how many panels that you're gonna that you're going to need, um, and or actually you give it some inputs, how many kilowatts your system's going to be, and then it calculates what the output's going to be. So you're going to need to play around with that. And just to give you an example, um, so you basically type in your system capacity and you can play with that, and then you can just draw in the roof design that you have on your house, and they'll give you a satellite view, and then you could see what that area of your house is gonna, produce. It's kind of complicated, but uh, you'll start to get a feel for, how many panels you're gonna need based on, and basically this is west, and this is south. So you're going to want to put stuff on the south and west, and then you can kind of take a look at your neighbors and see what your neighbors are doing on the Google Earth, and you kind of get a feel for maybe where you're going to be. Now you don't have to be exactly right about it. Of course, it's a lot more complicated. An installer would add a lot of value here, but I think what we're trying to do is just slam in the form and be halfway right about what's going on. So that is that part. And I'll just show you now let's see, I was trying to find an example of a quote for you. Okay. I want to find the quote. Let's see. R-E. Okay. So there's a site here that I use, and I've showed it before in another video, but I think it's best to just do this solar design quote option. And we know we need, I think it's best to just say you want a full system quote, and it'll let you calculate what you need, and then or like if you know how many panels you think you're gonna need based on some estimates, you could do that here. But anyway, you just kind of pick out your solar panels, and you're going to have a tilted roof, and you're going to have composition shingles, and then let's just say you're going to have one row of 10 panels, and they're going to be portrait orientation. You can look all that stuff up. I recommend you use Iron Ridge as your racking system. And I just have one array in here, but of course you could have two or as many as you want. And then number of rows, number of panels, okay. And then let's see. Basically, it will draw you. It will sketch out what you need and how many how many feet that will be. Now, is Edison going to go out there with a rule and figure out whether it can fit on your roof? Well, probably not. So, for purpose of this exercise, I think if you go high on the amount of wattage, you'll be good. So basically, now they're giving you a. It looks like we've got a 4.8 kilowatt system that it put together based on the panel size. But we'll do one other thing here. So we got and then you can kind of see what's going on. It plans the rails for you too. And then the nice thing is it produces a quote, so it kind of gives you some credibility as being a do-it-yourself installer, even though you maybe won't want to do that, and you'll change your mind after about a year and get it installed by a professional. So in microinverters, remember in the last when we were filling out the form, I was choosing this microinverter right here. And we're not going to do energy storage, and we're not going to do batteries, and it's going to do a full system quote. Okay. So here's the all the items in the system quote. And so that's like $7,000. But it has every little bit and pieces of the racking system. Is pretty nice. And then for technical specifications, it's going to give you that if you get that emailed to you. But if you wanted just to kind of click on the panel, you've got some, technical specs there. Not that you're going to need them. It pretty much produces, the Edison site will, of course, produce everything you need. So now let's go. We got to fill out this. We have to produce a single line diagram. So if that's going to be your hardest thing. It's optional to do the plot plan, but I recommend you do the plot plan too. But let's take a look at this single line diagram, and it's going to look like this. Here's a single line diagram for an N-phase system with 400 watt panels. So it's going to, they're tagging the different elements here. And I think of all what you're going to need is you're going to need this. It's page 46 of the California guide. Let me see if I can find the California guide for you again. Okay, here it is right here. So it's page 46, and there's a supply side and a load side, and it's complicated, but we're going to do the load side. And let's take a look at the okay, so this is the California permitting guide book, and you can just download it. It's for free. It's the set of plans that California writes for us that allows homeowners to do their own installation. So it is a recognized solid planning tool, and all these numbers and everything are in here. It's kind of complicated. Perhaps you'll want to use my diagram a little bit to help you, but I'll just kind of explain this real quickly. You need to look at your panel, and on the panel there's some big breakers on it. It's generally going to say 200 amp or 150 amp. Pretty much and I'm not an expert electrician. I'm not, I'm just a regular guy. So don't think that I'm a professional installer, but this is my impression of how perhaps I would fill it out, which could be wrong. I don't have the same experience. So anyway, take a look at those breakers. I would put 200 amps. If you see a breaker here for 200 amps, put 200 amps there. You probably put 200 amps on the bus bar too, and then we have to size the breaker here that's connected to the system per some of those what's required in terms of ampacity. For this thing right here, we're going to put ungrounded for the M-phase microinverters. This here is almost always going to be a square D. You could copy my pretty much this is going to be a pretty beefy system here. If you put these numbers down, might be overkill, but oh well. It'll be overkill, but it'll probably be okay. So with this, we're running two strings. We got a string here uh, of uh, microinverters, and we got a string here. So we have two strings of solar panels with microinverters that are terminating to this in phase combiner box. Okay, and that's another subject right there. Okay, so here's an in phase combiner box. So what this does is just terminate strings of microinverters, and you can kind of look at more. You'll eventually figure all this out. But generally, we're going to have this, these protected, protecting the combiner box, and then each combiner box has their own bus bar. It's in the specs. You can look it up, but this particular one, 65 amps, and then I'd say you can, this squared E thing is 60 amp, but if you don't have a big system, you can go 30 amps, but maybe this is just for filling out the document side, so maybe just copy what I got. And then let's go down and we'll kind of discuss what's going on here. So we got, the panel, we got a backfeed breaker here that we have to put a breaker in this box, and then we got a disconnect there, and then we got conduit running. So we have to define on A, we define A what the conduit has, and we define B what the conduit has. So what I've chosen to do is do 10 gauge. It's like a lot of overkill, but uh, it will be a surefire. It'll probably be okay. And then I've got 8 wire for the equipment ground. Well, the microinverters don't need to be grounded themselves. They just run with 2 wire, but the um, the the panels need to be grounded with the ground wire that runs from the panel. So we have to define what the gauge of that wire is. And then we also have to say, how many conductors are, going in each going to each uh, um, what is it, branch. So 2 current carrying conductors here, 2 current conductors here, and we have to call out how many panels we're using, how many microinverters, and the wattage of the panels. Of course, we've already defined that in the Edison document, and that's pretty much it. And all you have to do is, scan that, and hopefully it will pass. Almost pass. This probably will pass as is. And of course, if you only have one string, then just fill out, the one. You don't need to say 10 10. You just need to say 10. And then I recommend having a 3/4 conduit because it's bigger. And then this wire here is pretty common. It's a THWN-2. It's pretty common. It's THNN sometimes at Home Depot. But anyway, you can easily get that wire, and it works out pretty well. So now let's look at one more thing that I recommend that you do. Okay. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. So what you do is you do a Google Earth snapshot, screen snapshot. And then what I think it's good to do is go into, let's see, I'm going to try find this P-A-I-N-T. So so what you do is just go to Google Earth or Google and get the image, right? And you could bring it into here and then use this crop tool. You can find YouTube videos and figure out how to operate this thing. But anyway, you just crop it, and then you can use these little marking things to mark yourself anything you want. And so what I think the easiest thing to do is just, figure out where the panel is, or where your main panel is here, and then Um, and then you can just basically designate whole areas, and you don't have to get it very detailed on all the panels, how they're going to look. I mean, you could go into that detail, but in this case, the roof was kind of like, I'm just gonna gonna call out the areas, and so that's what I did. And so that's the other document you need, and that's how you produce it. And let's see, where were we? Um, so that's kind of where we were at, where uploaded the we uploaded the single line diagram, and we uploaded the plot plan. And then, generally speaking, we're not going to need to do this until we pull the permit. Of course, we got to have a lot of details. Maybe we'll have a contractor by that time. Maybe you'll decide not to do it yourself. And then for system size justification, um, that's a reason why we kind of put that we're going to use electric vehicle, even though maybe we don't have one. Um, if we're going to make a bigger system than what our bills would indicate, they might get back to us and say we need this system justification. But that's the whole reason why we could kind of get a rough idea of it, right? When we were looking at our bill, and we remember we kind of went through this calculation on watts per day. If you get yourself pretty close to that, when you hit that calculate button, for let's see, rate and attachments. No, here, sorry. So remember when you did this new generating facility, we hit the calculate button. Well, Edison's going to basically um, uh, you know, calculate that system. And when we go over to here, it's going to have what the calculations are for the system, and we want to make that be roughly this number right here. We want to make it be roughly what we had on our bill. So that's how that works. And then I think there's only one other thing that um, it would be good for you to do. Let's see. Just gonna find it here. Existing generating facility. We don't want that. We don't want rebate information attachments. Well, there's a document, a contract that you have to sign, and I recommend that you read through that and sign it. It kind of outlines your the system size and everything. So there's another box in there. I don't know where it is right now. And then payment's not going to happen until it's like $94, I think it is. But it's going to give you an error if you don't uh, you don't fill out the fields that it wants, right? And then basically you just submit the you just submit this document here to them, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Well, I think this might be the last video that I do. I did have my own system where I added on, which maybe I'll do a video on that. Thanks for hanging around, and I'd like you to hit like if you could on this video. Just kind of helps me out, gets me motivated to do more videos. Apologize for the length of this, but it was just kind of a long process, and I think you could probably knock this out in a couple of hours. And hopefully I didn't leave out anything that I'm going to find out later, but read the comments, because you know, chances of me screwing up probably pretty high. And good luck on your project, and I'll see you on the next video.